the Hawaii PD is going to conduct the state's first ever cannabis impaired driving Green Lab, they call it. Hawaii Island Police conducted the state's first ever cannabis impaired Green Lab to enhance road safety, as the state has been debating whether to legalize cannabis or not over the last few years. One Hawaii Island sergeant noticed the states that legalized marijuana also saw an increase in traffic crashes. That's fake news, but whatever. In a quote, "I knew the writing on the wall was coming to Hawaii eventually, that they were going to try and do the same thing. So instead of being reactive, I wanted to take a proactive approach," explained Sergeant Thomas Konagi, West Hawaii Traffic Enforcement Unit Commander. After attending multiple conferences on the mainland, Sergeant Konagi decided to train officers with advanced roadside impairment detection education here in Hawaii. In May, he ran the state's first ever Green Lab, which is similar to how police departments run workshops to train officers on detecting drunk drivers. He had 25 officers on medical cannabis and medical cannabis volunteers. Each volunteer was a licensed medical cannabis patient and legally permitted to consume their own cannabis product in verified dosages off-site. Officers transported the volunteers during the training event, and in a quote, "Since that's probably the large majority of the people, if they do legalize it for adult use here, that we're going to come in contact with," says Sergeant Konogi added. He also says, "So we wanted to assure the medical cannabis community that they weren't going to get arrested because they were cannabis patients and that we're looking for impairment. And we wanted to show them what impairment looks like and what we're looking for," he says. During the test, he saw correlating levels of consumption and impairment. And in a quote, "A lot of the volunteers in the second round still wouldn't have gotten arrested because their tolerance levels were so high that it didn't affect them in the divided attention tests," he explained. Well, that's good news. In a quote, which threw the drug recognition experts for a loop, because they thought for sure that they would have been much higher because their THC levels were higher. Because it's medicinal, officers knew the percentage of THC the volunteers were taking. After letting the participants smoke or have edibles, they would test their cognitive functions, coordination, motor skills, and laughter too. Sergeant Kanagi said in some states like Colorado, drivers with 5 nanograms of THC in their blood levels could be prosecuted for a DUI. And a quote, "Almost everybody, as far as the volunteers, had registered over 25 nanograms of active THC in their system, but many of them would have not gotten arrested," he explained, due to their high tolerance. Hawaii Island leads the state in traffic fatalities so far this year, with 20 deaths compared to 10 this time last year. And Sergeant Kanagi said having officers trained and able to recognize the different kinds of impairment adds to their tool belt. In a quote, "Right now we're looking for answers to see if we can combat the amount of people dying on our islands needlessly when we don't have to," he said. We have to have everybody educated as far as being able to detect impaired driving. That's the ultimate goal," he says. Well, man, 25 nanograms for these patients, man, oh man. I'm sure that they would be getting charged if they were in Colorado, but nonetheless, we're going to save Colorado for a future story later today. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all have to say about this?
I mean, the poor volunteers. Could you imagine going and getting stoned as all fuck and then having to get a ride from police officers so they could study how stoned you are?
I wonder how they were transported, if they were transported in like a paddy wagon, or if they went and rented like a van from Enterprise, or if they were just thrown in the back of patrol cars.
Yeah, that's sketchy. That, I would have a full-on panic attack. I try to stay away from police cars.
Even if you weren't cuffed up?
Even if I wasn't cuffed up. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been arrested where they cuffed me in the front.
She is black.
Still a shitty
She is
ride.
black, Jason.
When you get cuffed, do you get cuffed in the front or the back?
It depends on the officer, and I have little wrists, so I can get my hands out, and they don't like that at all.
They do not like that. I know a few females that have done that a few times.
They are not a fan. They're like,
No.
"We could charge you again." I'm like, "Okay, are you going to?"
Yeah.
Jason, you know a few females that have escaped your
Oh, I see what you did there, Rico. That's cute.
Yeah, it came back and she was gone.
Cute.
I've always thought that they should have a CHP officer come up at the end of one of our days of judging after we smoked weed for 10 hours and then run us all through an obstacle course with our cars and see that, like, you can drive fine.
You know, it doesn't say that any of these drug recognition experts look to see if their tongues were green after they smoked.
All they gotta do, man, is just let them play a little Mario Kart, challenge them to Mario Kart on the Nintendo
that would be
Switch.
good. That would be good. That would be good. You got to give them though the actual steering. You got to give them the actual steering console though, the steering wheel and the gas pedals and shit, Rico. If you want to actually get some accurate evidence of Mario
just get like a simulator out there.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd rather my tax dollars go to that than this bullshit.
So you're all about buying PlayStations for all the departments, huh?
I'd rather fund PlayStations than these tanks and shit that the cops have.
Well, it's a good thing you don't pay taxes in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Any other thoughts on this, Mathieu St?
I've been to Hawaii within the last year, so I have funded this bullshit.
I mean, I did the road to Hana in like 45 minutes, so you know I'm pretty versed in the streets of Hawaii.
I spoke in Hawaii in February, and like it's much of the same. I met with their House representative as well as the senators that are pushing forward their cannabis legalization efforts, and I think that. With speaking with some of the local Hawaiian people, like it's more the same. They're very frustrated, and it's a lot of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. That is fair.
You do so much and talk to so many people in Hawaii. You know what I'm saying?
It's what I do. It's called advocacy and lobbying.
Yeah. You're just a regular lobbyist. I dig it. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Aloha.